Welcome to the FASA Leadership Lounge, where we dive into the policies facing the work of Florida school leaders. I am Jeff Willoughby, sitting in for Michelle White, who could not be here today, and I'm the Policy and Programs Manager for the Florida Association of School Administrators.
And I'm Jessica Janasiewicz, lobbyist for FASA in several school districts across the state of Florida.
All right. Well, as many of you know, FASA is the sponsor for the Florida Association of Student Councils, or FASC. And FASC consists, of over 200 middle and high schools from every single part of Florida.
At FASA's Advocate 26 legislative days, a group of FASC leaders attended and got the full legislative experience. From the morning legislative briefings to visits with legislators and their aides, they really got a taste for what happens in Tallahassee.
That's right. And we are so excited to have 5 of their students today to share their experiences from Advocate. Let's go ahead and have everybody introduce yourselves. Let's start off with Shay.
All right. So my name is State Patel. I'm the FAC State President for Forest High School in Ocala.
I'm Donnie Vo, the FAC parliamentarian from Coral Springs High School in Coral Springs.
Hi, my name is Avery Morgan, FASC District 4 President from Lake Placid High School in Lake Placid, Florida.
My name is Macy Gleason. I'm the FASC District 2 President from Gainesville High School in Gainesville, Florida.
And my name is Sophia Garcia. I'm the FASC Co-Treasurer from Park Vista High School in Palm Beach County.
And let's not forget Dr. Melissa Son, the FASC Executive Director from Lake Placid High School in Lake Placid. Welcome, everyone.
Thank you.
All right. Well, let's get this started, guys. And like I said, if everyone wants to answer, go for it. And if just a couple of you want to answer for these questions, if you've got something really important you want to bring up, let's do that as well. So before you got here to Tallahassee for the Advocate Conference, what were you most excited or nervous about before meeting with state legislators?
So I would definitely have to say one thing that I was nervous about was meeting people that were in power. I was thinking I would be walking into like a big office type deal, but it was more of a calming setting more than a big exciting experience, I would say.
Anyone else?
I think for me, I was most excited going into it about knowing that I would have the impact to meet with people who could really change the future of not just what we were advocating for, but for the better future of our students. And I think for me that was like something that I was like most looking forward to, is making that change.
Fantastic. Yeah, it's always, you get that in your head how it's going to be before you get here, and then it could be a whole lot different. So anyone else for this one before we move on?
Can anyone else share a moment from the trip that really stood out? Was there something that really was impactful while you were here that you enjoyed?
Yeah, I can actually do that. I think that one of the moments that really stood out to me was when we got to hear from Chancellor O'Burns. And when he started his talk to the administrators, instead of saying like, hey, this is my plan and everything, he started off with cracking jokes and using classroom jargons, like asking for a pop quiz from all these other administrators too, which that really surprised me. That's not something you see from leaders every day.
That's certainly the truth. Dr. Warren is very special, and he's the one that really has a huge impact on what happens here with education policy in Florida. The department is charged with ensuring that all the bills that the legislature passes are then implemented according to the wishes of the legislature. Oftentimes there's a lot more detail that goes into that than just, what maybe in broad strokes in a bill. The DOE has to go through and really figure out all those nuances and help guide school districts. So I think it's fair to say we could not do it without Dr. Burns, to be sure.
Absolutely. And he's got a really good way of making people feel comfortable in those types of settings as well. We've had him out for many years, and he does a great job every time.
And he is, in fact, the senior chancellor for all of K-12 education. So when you think of the things that he is responsible for, I mean, it is everything from instructional issues, school safety, instructional materials. There's just so many things that are under his purview.
So, students, what issues or topics did you advocate for in front of all these legislators on behalf of students throughout Florida?
So there was a topic that we were talking about, and it was about our leadership certification, right? We needed a language that needed to be changed in the CAPE Act. And it is important that us leaders have a certification when we graduate high school to really impact the workforce and help these local businesses in any way possible. And that was our main priority because most of us in SGA, we have other focuses. Like being an SGA, you don't have time to do health, or you don't have time to do culinary. You don't have time to do these other certifications. And leadership ties with every field possible. And that's why it's important that we have the certification.
I think adding on to what Sneh was saying, I think it's important that, like, while as leaders, we may not have time to get those other certifications like culinary, or I know digital design is a big one in Alachua County. We're all going into a global job market, and through like a leadership certification, you're putting yourself ahead no matter what career you decide. And I think that's really important and something that our students deserve to have.
Just to mention, like, this certification would be the first in the country, and it starts right here in Florida. And just like the leadership certification, we are leading an education curriculum that other states across this country will eventually want to follow.
Was there anything that you all learned or experienced that you wish more students understood?
For me, it was being able to sit in the committee and being able to like see how they use parliamentary procedures, because like we use that in our resolutions, and I feel like SGA members just like being able to see that they actually use those to make our laws is really cool.
Well, what an advantage for you all that you already practice and use those types of ways of speaking, because it certainly is not, natural. And I'm sure you noticed in committee that there are people who come from the public and shoot, even those who do this every day as a job, that sometimes struggle with using that procedure and going through the chair and not, being asked a question, but not just directly immediately answering, waiting for the chair to acknowledge you. That's really one of the many skills that you all are going to have, coming out of this experience that most people do not.
And just like you said, Jessica, I mean, when you go to committee and watch, everybody always gets tripped up on the back and forth questioning because people it's natural to question and get the answer, but having to go back to the chair every time is something that I know when we sit here and we watch it, we kind of chuckle every time, but.
So sure.
Yeah, I also wanted to add the fact that, like, as a regular student, I would think that these people, since they're so distant from us, that their offices are very tight and they're very clean. No, their offices are just like regular humans. They have teddy bears in there, sodas, crackers, pictures of their families, and like that's just something I definitely learned, and more students should know that these leaders are just humans too. They're dads, moms, grandmas, grandpas, and they're here for us. So
That's so true. But oftentimes we think a lot about what happens at the federal level, which is certainly very important. But so much of what impacts us every day, and certainly what impacts you all every day in your communities, in your schools, is the stuff they're actually passing on the state level. The state actually, has a lot more impact on what we're doing day to day in schools. And so to be able to come and have that opportunity and speak with those folks, that makes a huge difference for them to hear from you all who are, experiencing a lot of the policies that they've passed in years past, that they're impacting your day to day life. And it's great for them to be able to hear from you guys.
Yes, it is. That's a great way of putting it, Dottie. I appreciate that. How did this experience change all of y'all as leaders?
For me, it opened a different way of communication, right? You walk into an office and Donnie said that they're human, right? So connecting with them at a personal level is important, whether it be researching before you walk in and they golf and I golf. So, you're talking about a little bit personal lives is important, right? Connecting personally and communicating is always important as a leader.
That's great.
I definitely didn't think it would be as easy to speak with them. I figured they would be more not willing, but whenever we were speaking with some of the legislatives or their aides, they were very willing to listen and sit down with us and allow us to explain what exactly we were wanting to do with bills and stuff like that.
It's so good because I do think for the most part, the legislature is well intentioned when they pass legislation, but they don't always get to hear about what the reality is when it's implemented. Oftentimes they are very eager to hear from their constituents. They want to hear from you all that it's impacting and know what they did, how it was, if it's a positive thing in your schools or communities or if it's a negative thing. So I'm so glad that you all got the opportunity to really talk to these folks and give them some insight. What other advice would you give students who may have a similar opportunity, maybe your peers or others who maybe have the chance to come up to Tallahassee sometime?
The advice I would give them is to fully just immerse yourself in the opportunity and don't be afraid of what they're going to say to you, or don't be scared of this is a full grown adult who has such as higher powerful high level position, and just really enjoy it while you can. Because I know for me, I was really nervous going into my first meeting, and then I did it and I was wow, this is the true change you can have, and it's really an experience and not so much a meeting. And it's more of you're learning and you're connecting with this person, you're making those connections, and not so much you're advocating for something and it's one-sided. It's a very two-sided path.
Excellent.
Yes. My advice that I would give to anyone who has this opportunity is always have a plan. Do not walk into the Capitol without any purpose and destination. It's one, you will get lost. Number two, because so much things are going on all at once.
And also, when you're talking to these legislators, to show your personality. That's the most important thing for me, is just showing who you actually are and letting them be themselves, right? They're always stuck in the office and they're so professional. You want to open up to them.
I was just going to say, my advice would be for you to just go. I have never been to Tallahassee before, and going up to legislative days was just an eye opener for me, seeing just a different landscape from where I'm from and getting to meet with legislators and stuff like that. It was just a whole different experience, and being able to do that taught me so many different leadership skills and stuff like that. So
fantastic. And Donnie, you said something about getting lost. We have to confess that Tuesday that you guys were here, I think was the single busiest day any of us have ever seen in that Capitol building. So y'all did a great job.
Man, there were so many people there. It's insane.
I've never seen it like that. I mean, we have some very, very busy days for sure, but it seemed like everyone in the state decided to come that week and to Tallahassee, and it was just a zoo.
All right, here's the last one we have, and everyone, I would like everyone to have their input on this question. In one sentence, how would you describe this experience to other students?
In the Capitol, you are watching the past, present, and future happen in snippets of different conversations, elevators and hallways, even offices that you get to be a part of.
Looking from the outside is different from being in the inside.
For what you believe in and what could benefit you.
Connections are very, very, very important to make real change.
Nice.
Yes.
Understanding what goes on behind the scenes of making bills and laws is something that every person should understand, in my opinion.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Awesome. So much for being with us, and Dr. Mel for being here today, and for all of you for sharing your experiences. Y'all remember these students' names. You may hear about them running for office soon.
That's right. Now, Dr. Mel, I'm gonna put you in the spotlight here because I know that some of your students have a couple of things they want to highlight.
Okay, so first of all, with Advocacy Days, we're always so thankful for FASA for providing the opportunity for the students to go. And I do love the fact, and you heard it in this conversation as well, that they're learning that state representatives, senators, people at the Capitol, they're approachable, right? And I don't think that's really a perception for the majority of the population, and especially students. They feel that they're an adult, that they're unapproachable, that you can't contact them. So I love that conversation, and I heard that bleed through several of their comments, and I love that. But my job, I think, as executive director, I push really hard to show these students that they're not the future leaders. They're the leaders right now, and they have a voice at that table, and they deserve a chair at that table just like anybody else. And that is such an impact. So this is what I love about watching and going with them and just seeing them in that moment in the experience. So that's always a fun thing. So we are moving and shaking right now. We are wrapping up our district meetings, and we are getting ready to go into state conference. We have state conference. Sophia is the host the weekend of the 20th. We have almost 1,500 students coming for 4 days. And so we're really, really excited there. We're working on our strategic plan. We're growing membership. We're advocating. We're educating our school boards and our superintendents about what we do. We are also working on leadership curriculum to continue. We have the honors levels that we worked with the DOE 3 years ago to get that honor level credit into CPALM. So we have that. And again, we're just pushing this leadership certification that if we can get over the hiccup of changing the statute language where we can tie leadership to a career path, then we're ready, right? We've designed a leadership portfolio that students will complete within a year, and then they'll be able to get certified and take that into that global workforce. And they're going to be able to make a huge impact on local communities. So that's what we're really excited about.
That's awesome.
Yes.
And that just leads me to this statement. If any of you out there would like your school to get involved in FASC, they're doing awesome stuff. These are great kids. They are the leaders of today and tomorrow. If you want to get involved, if a school is not involved with FASC, go to fasa.net/FASC for more information. Once again, I'd like to thank every single one of y'all for being here and sharing your insight. You did a great job. And thank you, listeners, for listening once again. Don't forget to subscribe and share the podcast with your friends and colleagues. And we will be talking to you soon.
Yes, and ask Jeff about his experience at that state conference last year, what that excitement was all about.
It was awesome. It was amazing. I recommend going to the state conference.
Yeah.
Well, stay tuned for more episodes.
Thank you for listening to the Leadership Lounge podcast presented by the Florida Association of School Administrators. Today's podcast was hosted by Michelle White and Jessica Janasiewicz. The podcast was produced by Jeff Willoughby. Original musical recordings by David Higgins. Make sure to subscribe to the podcast wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts. New episodes are released each Monday. For show topics, suggestions, questions, or comments, please email communications@fasa.net. We hope you enjoyed the show.